Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well today. Not going to do the whole music intro and everything, though it's here in spirit. Okay, because I want to go ahead and get into this. So I was up late last night, like 3 in the morning, because T-Rev was doing a great call-in live stream. If you've not watched T-Rev and you are interested in the Savannah Soto case, and you enjoy call-ins, just statements and ideas and thoughts from the audience, then you really should go. So I have put critters. I was just thinking about you last night. It seems like I haven't seen you in forever. I hope you are doing super good and that y'all had a nice Christmas holiday. So I hope it was good. It's good to see you. Hey, DB, welcome. Okay, so I want to talk about this problem in the Savannah Soto case. There are two really big issues, and I think that it is disingenuous. It is wrong to believe that there were only two people involved in this. There is plenty of evidence that people knew that Savannah and Matthew were killed long before the police knew that they were killed. So that's kind of what I want to focus on today is what are the two things that really, really point that out. So the first is add to stage. This is from T-Rev's live. I've put the link in the side chat for his channel. I hope that you will go over, like, subscribe, watch the video. He put a filter over this so that this white filter, so that you could actually see that, yes, in fact, someone is tossing a towel or maybe it's a t-shirt, maybe it's a white, maybe some paper towels, something like that. But for certain, we've got real movement here. The dad, Ramon, is very far away from the truck, and we've all seen this, but watch. You can actually see somebody's hand. If you look right up here, you can almost see their hand, like maybe this is their knee, maybe. And maybe the towel or the shirt is lying over their leg and they pick it up and toss it out. So, because it's going to get up further here. In some of the videos, depending on the resolution, you can see somebody's head move right here. So there's at least one extra person in the truck. I might even contend there's two. Because why would somebody be seated in the back seat while there's a driver without there be somebody in the passenger seat? So I think the cops are still investigating. They don't have the full story yet, in my opinion. You see that? So it's pretty clear. And thank you, T-Rev, for putting up the white filter, because there's no arguing. Like you can totally see it. And that right there looks like the headrest, maybe, or maybe not the headrest, maybe the edge of the front seat. The headrest would be over here, because that's like the speedometer, the dashboard area. And maybe this door is open just a little bit, and that's somebody's leg with the shirt lying over the leg, I think. Trust me, I've spent hours slowing this down, looking at it really close. But notice how somebody picks up what looks like one side, makes it really long, and tosses it out toward Ramon. Did you see that? Okay. So somebody's hand is literally holding it, and then they kind of just flick it to him. It's crazy. And if you watch super close right here, you can see the hand come up. There's some kind of movement there. Let me try to slow this down because that definitely makes it easier to see as well. Hold on. Makes it a lot easier to see. Now watch. See a little bit of movement right here. Right there. And then flip. Right there is the hand. Right there. So maybe it is someone sitting in the front seat that's leaned over across the back, the back of the front seat. Maybe that's just like somebody's arm, but that's the hand right there holding it. Keep your eye right here. And then you see the little bit of movement after Ramon, after he has it in his hand. There's a little bit of movement here looking like a person pulls back away. Pretty crazy. Great filter, T-Rev. Thank you. Definitely someone in that truck. Like there's no doubt. Someone is in the truck. See right here? Right there. See the movement right there? There's definitely someone there moving around. Like you can. So this is the first thing that lets me feel confident about saying somebody else is in on this. See right there? You see, yeah, you can totally see them right there. Looks like somebody's head, maybe. Maybe they're sitting in the back seat looking out. Crazy, isn't it? Clearly wipes the door down where he touched it. Okay, so that is from T-Rev's channel. What do you think? Do you think that makes it easier to see? Is it ever a thing for law enforcement to keep a cooperating witness a secret? No, I definitely think it's a thing, DB. There's no question about that. Yes, but I've got a few questions about it. I was going to make 2 points, but I think I'm going to make 3 today. Right there, you can totally see something. Okay. So there's someone else involved, period. Okay. Now, the question is, why don't we see charges against whoever it is in the back seat, or leaned over from the passenger seat, handing him the towel or shirt or whatever it is? And I sort of think he grabs the towel. I think he maybe, as an afterthought, wipes his fingerprints off the door. I think the point of the towel or shirt was to hide the firearm, because the murder weapon was found at their house, right? At Ramon's house. So he definitely got it and concealed it, probably, would be my guess. I mean, you're not going to hide. You've shot 2 people in a car. You're not going to hide blood evidence. It's there. It is interesting. There was blood outside of the car. There was arrest affidavit said that Matthew looked like he had been dragged. And the question is, was he just dragged out of the front seat into the back seat? Or perhaps he was outside of the car when he got shot and got pulled into the car that way. I do think the location of his body, the position of his body and feet, I think he's pulled from the back seat into the front seat. Maybe the blood smear that they found outside of the car, maybe that was just transfer blood. Hard to know. But I will say this, since all of this has happened, the arrests and whatnot, somebody has gone in and painted baby killer all across the side of Christopher Preciado's car. So, and it still sits in his driveway. The other thing that we know from a man named Carlos, Carlos lives across the street from the Preciados, and he has been going live and showing what all's been happening there at the house. One of the important things I think that came out of his record, I mean, there's a lot that he's recorded and put on TikTok that is important to this case. But I think it is incredibly important that the girlfriend of Ramon, the dad, the girlfriend was also taken in for questioning. Hi, Brittany. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome. So good to see you. I listened to your live too, night before last. So Carlos, he's got a lot of interesting things on his TikTok, but the most notable thing is that the girlfriend of Ramon was taken in for questioning on the same day then that Christopher and Ramon were arrested. She has not been arrested, but sleuths have been checking to see, hey, does it look like someone has also been arrested with this whole interfering with a corpse, you know. So the question earlier was, does law enforcement ever keep a witness silent if they're cooperating? And I would say yes. I think, in fact, in this situation, perhaps this is what is going on. that, I mean, let's think about it. This gonna contradict something I'm gonna say in a minute, but if you get a phone call in the middle of the night and it's from your child and they say, "Hey, Dad, I screwed up. I need help. I need you now. I killed someone." You jump up and go running to go help your kid, and he does look like he's in like a wife beater shirt, like he was sleeping or whatever. And you go running to go help. Is your girlfriend or wife just going to go, "Okay, honey, be safe," or are y'all going to jump up and go running? In my life, I would jump up and go with my husband to find out what in the world was going on. I wouldn't wait, right? So maybe it is her, maybe it is the girlfriend, and maybe she did cooperate. Maybe she did cooperate, tell the truth. Maybe she's the one that said, "Here's where the firearm is. Here's where you can find the weapon." Maybe she's the one who called and said, "Here's where you can find the car," right? Maybe she's the one that did that. But I mean, in the death of Dan Markel, we see Georgia Kappelman giving use immunity and derivative immunity, which is almost all. I mean, that is rare. To the one person who really gained the most from the death of Dan Markel. And you think that is so bizarre because she's really the real culprit, right? So why would you give use and derivative to get her off scot-free? There's a lot of discussion among the academics and legal scholars on that point, but I mean, at this point, she's probably the main one, and yet she has received use and derivative immunity. So for sure, yeah, you can keep it silent. Wendy Adelson has never been arrested for the death of Dan Markel. So, yes, they could have someone else, never charged, never arrested, cooperating witness that may be cutting a deal. Absolutely is the case. Now then, so the whole point of this is baby Fabian getting justice as the way things stand now? And we do know from the press conference that the cop was careful about what he was saying, not wanting to talk about moms or Christopher's mom or Ramon's wife or girlfriend. He just didn't want to talk about that at all. And maybe now we know why. And perhaps she is cooperating. Perhaps she did turn over incredibly valuable information, like where the firearm was, or that she was the one that called in about the location of the car. And that is why, to us, it looks like they're not acting on that third person. They could very well have acted on it, no doubt. Now, there's another important piece of evidence that definitely points to there's more to this case than meets the eye. And I think everyone has seen the towel or paper towels or t-shirt or whatever it is that someone in the car gives to Ramon. Everyone's seen it. Now, what I just showed, T-Rev put up the image with the white filter on it. You could totally see it. It's great, great, great move. So that is known. Now, there's another thing, that fact that has it's sort of gotten lost in the mix. It's kind of become small and apparently inconsequential. But at this point now, it's huge. And it is this, that they were found on the 26th. We now know for a fact that they were dead on the 21st. And I have never seen in my life a candle that could burn for 6 days? Or 5 days. Have you? A candle that will continually burn for 5 days? I don't think so. So there's some discomfort also about the candle. Well, let me restate this. The report by one of Savannah's family members that he kicked the door in, that everything looked normal, that her pregnancy bag was sitting by the door ready to go, and there was a candle burning, because that story leads one to believe that it was business as usual, that they were just having a normal, usual day, that nothing was out of the ordinary, and that they were preparing to welcome the new baby. The little extra, and a candle was burning. I don't know about y'all, but it's very uncomfortable for me. And I'm, you know, a lot of people get unhappy with me on YouTube at times, because sometimes my opinions don't match with what the general consensus is, and I can respect that. But I also I don't like the bandwagoning. I don't like the group think. I think it's counterproductive, and I've never seen a professional organization that worked like that. I think people have to have confidence in their ideas and speak up, because you may be seeing something that someone else may be overlooked, and it may be important. And so I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being antagonistic. None of that. None of that. I'm opening up a question, because nobody knows the reality. There's a lot of scenarios that could play out that would result in a candle burning in the apartment, even once they're gone, right? Once they're dead. But what we do know for a fact is that there was no candle burning 5, almost 6 days after they were killed. No, not true. That is not real. That is not real. So what does it mean? I don't know, other than I think the cops are having a real investigation that is going on. Because even though I think that maybe we've taken a bit of a simplistic view of the case, and now that we found her and we have this surveillance video, we think, oh, case solved, move on. I don't think so. I think there's something else big that is going on. Now, I will say this. Trying to get my okay. So the dad kicks in the door. His report to the police are that everything's going great, that the house looked totally normal, nothing was amiss. They were preparing for the birth of the child, and there was even a candle burning. On the 26th? Really? On the 26th? And now we know for a fact that it was on the 21st that they died. Okay, so the first question is, why, who went into the apartment with the candle? Now, there's been some conversation about, well, sometimes the gang activity, sometimes they'll light the candle if they know someone's going to die or someone's going to be killed or something like that. I don't know. I don't have access to that information, but we can be certain that the cops was not burning for 5 or 6 days. They do know that. So what are they investigating? Are they investigating who did the candle, who lit the candle, and when? Or are they investigating, hey, Dad, why'd you tell such a story? Because that tale that you told can't be true. So that is very curious, and I am not going to make any thoughts on what it might mean. Not my role here, but it is the cops' role, and I would be certain that they would be investigating that. The other thing that I think that is incredibly important, I cannot find that article right now. They had a massive San Antonio gang bust December 27th, I think. I think it was the 27th. I'm looking. Hold on. Give me a minute. We know that Savannah Soto's brother was killed in 2022. I think this is it. We know that he was killed in 2022 after he stole some THC cartridges from a guy. That's not it. And they arrested the guy that killed her brother. And when he was on the stand in 2023, October 2023, the 4 members of the Soto family, young people, assaulted him in the middle of the courtroom, in the middle of the trial. And so there is that tendency toward revenge, honor killing type thing, right? So we know that there is that problem. Now then, we also know that I believe it was December the 27th or the 29th. I'll have to find the article. I lost it because I'm not in my other office. I'm on a different computer. There was also a giant gang hideout bust that happened the day after they discovered Matthew and Savannah's bodies. And I have to ask myself, could that be related? Could that be a part of what happened with these 2 young people? I mean, to me, San Antonio looks like a hornet's nest to me. And I've got friends that live there. There's a giant Air Force base there. There's wonderful people in San Antonio. Don't get me wrong, okay? But there are definitely parts of San Antonio that you would not want to drive through. You would not want to go there. It's dangerous. And this is part of that area that sees, some, it's not the heart of the violence, but quite a bit. So I think it's notable that they find Matthew and Savannah. The next day, they arrest Christopher and Ramon, and then boom, you get a massive, giant, drug bust and basically gang members. So I'm like, I think maybe they arrested like 9, 10 drug. I'll have to find the article because I don't want to misspeak. So maybe this is all kind of interwoven. I find it very interesting that Ramon is a business owner, and yet there's not a lot about his business, but we come to find out that his air conditioning business is run out of a house. Not a lot of advertising for it. So how do you have a business if you're not, doing the work? And why is it a house? And a lot of people run business out of houses. I'm not knocking that. But the question, some people have posited that perhaps Ramon is the kingpin. We know that Matthew and Savannah were throwing around a lot of cash. They were taking a lot of photographs with cash and guns, and they were definitely sending that Scarface kind of, messaging. But apparently that's not really who Matthew was. That when he was coming up as a young kid, he and his brothers, that they put those kids in all kinds of sports activities and had them involved and busy. And, as we all know, when our kids get older, they begin to make their own decisions. And sometimes we lose some of them and they go off into the wrong direction and do make bad choices and whatnot. And you don't blame parents for that. We do the best we can and hope that our kids, stay away from the wrong people. So is that what happened to Matthew? There is, I think, with Savannah, I think there is now at this point, I'm not hating on the parents. I'm trying to understand how something so horribly tragic can happen. And I think with Savannah, there is a history in the family that goes back. There was gang involvement. There was violence. With Matthew Guerra, it was a little bit different. And you have to wonder, was it just this group of kids that really came from a good family and they ended up making the wrong friends, because that does happen. So we'll see how that turns out. So another part of this that I think is very important and that I have not seen anybody talk about is this. It is known, and the lab did a really, really great live talking about gang activity in San Antonio, and it is a hornet's nest right now. It is a constant stream. I can say this freely. It is a constant stream of people from San Antonio to Mexico to San Antonio, and they're not, buying fresh fruit. What are they doing? Why is it this constant movement back and forth with the same people? So there's a lot of money that is being made in the San Antonio area related to drugs. And that spills out then into smaller and smaller dealers across Texas and, the Southwest. But what goes along with that active drug trade, what goes along with the freedom of a movement, that you have the same group of people that are going to Mexico and coming back unfettered, no one's stopping them, everyone knows what they're doing. How do they get away with it? They pay dirty cops. They pay dirty cops to look the other way, right? And so then that leads you to the question of, okay, so how did San Antonio, which is really an Air Force town that was built up and a lot of the migration stopped there and whatnot, how did it go from being this charming, beautiful oasis to this terrifying, crime-ridden mini Chicago, right? Like, how did that happen? And the only way that can happen is through the corruption of the local officials. And so when you look at San Antonio's police department, and it's not just San Antonio Police Department, there's also the county, there's also state police. Okay, I'm just talking about just the police department. They had a really bad year last year. And when I say they had a bad year, I mean this. San Antonio Police Department, they shot 22 people. Of the 22 that were shot, there were 14 dead. So they shot to kill. They didn't shoot to just get out of trouble or to arrest. They shot to kill. And we had only 8, I say only, it was one too many. 8 officers were shot on duty. There shouldn't have been any shot on duty at all. But the 14 people that were killed, that was 3 times greater than the number that were killed in 2022. And there was a concentration of deaths right there in that area of town. So, there is deadly force being used. It doesn't have to be the result of corruption. I totally agree. I'm not saying all are corrupt, but I do think that you can't, where you have such crime rampant that grows so quickly, maybe you've got cops that are more often faced with life and death situations. Maybe they're scared. You got 8 of your comrades who have been shot in the year. You don't want to be number 9. Maybe that makes you quicker to respond in gunfire. But overall, I think without a doubt, something's got to be done about San Antonio. It's real easy to sit around and complain about Chicago and say, oh, Chicago, the kids are killing each other, yeah. It's happening right here in Texas. So whatever's happening in San Antonio, someone needs to get to the bottom of it and do something, because the death of Fabian Soto Guerra he's a casualty. He's a true innocent that was murdered because of what looks to be this drug gang lifestyle. And it's a bit frustrating. It's a little bit frustrating to see people talk about how sad. I mean, of course, it's a horrific, sad, unmentionable. When someone murders innocence, when the death of an unborn baby, there's nothing more evil. There really is not. That Fabian could have been saved even as Savannah was dead. Had someone had the courage to pick up the phone and get an ambulance there, they could have saved Fabian. They had time to get Fabian out of the womb and disconnected from the umbilical cord, and he would have absolutely survived. So it's a terrible, terrible case. And I do hope that they charge for the death of Fabian, simply because it was no different than a week-old baby being shot. It was no different because Fabian was a week or like 10 days past his due date. And if you look at it that way, he legitimately could have already been born and sitting in his baby car seat. So he should be treated as a human being. Just because you can't see someone doesn't mean that they're not there, right? So interesting things happening in San Antonio. Terrible, awful, terrible things. But to get to, right to the heart of this, there are those 2 specific things that let us know there's more to this case than what we see. This was, the third thing I wanted to mention. Sorry about that. Third thing I wanted to mention is this. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, the car was still. 4 minutes. So, and then 9 minutes from the time the car goes to Christopher's house to ends up in the parking lot. So 4 minutes, the car sitting still. That's the moment of death, right? That 4-minute window, that's the moment of death. 9 minutes overall. Can I ask you a question? How fast do you think that Christopher called his dad? Like, do you think he called and said, hey, Dad, I'm about to shoot Matthew and Savannah. Come help me. And then it took Dad 3, 4, 5 minutes to jump up, put his shoes on, get his truck out, and get there. No. According to what we're all thinking, which was what I was thinking, is that this terrible thing happened. Christopher said, oh my God, I've really messed up now. Let me call my dad for help. And the good dad gets up and says, uh-oh, Christopher really stepped off in it this time. We got to go to his rescue. So the cavalry comes running in and he says, Christopher, wipe everything down, park over there. Let's get the hell out of Dodge. That's what we all were thinking, right? And then I'm sitting there and I'm going, 4 minutes, and then you go straight to the apartments. Can you do that? Can that man, he's very heavy. I'm not body shaming, but I want you to think about his ability, his capacity to jump up out of the bed running, right? You jump up out of the bed running, you get your shoes on, you grab your car keys, you run out to the truck, you put it in reverse, you finally get out of the neighborhood, and then you drive 3 miles to the apartment. You've already burned up your 5 minutes. You've already burned it up. Can he move that fast? Think about it. Can he move that fast? Because I'm going to promise you, I haven't ever seen the man's medical records, but me and you, we know he's definitely going to have some arthritis going on. There's no doubt his age combined with his physical condition, it's going to be really difficult to move. There's not going to be a lot of running simply because 200, 300 pounds is a lot to carry. So now I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. What? Are we sure that happened that way? Because I don't think the time frame works. Arthritis, diabetes, absolutely, Diamond Paw. So now I'm wondering, did he know what was going to happen? Here's a question. You know how we said that Matthew and Savannah were taking a lot of thrill photos and post them online, gang banging, looking all cool and deadly. But would a real gang, like the kingpin, the guy who's moving the big bulk of drugs, the guy who's making thousands and millions of dollars with movement of drugs, do they take photographs and advertise it? Or do they go to church every Sunday and drive Volkswagens and look like, hey, I want to donate to the Boy Scouts? The kingpins that are really making the money, they don't live that lifestyle. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't want to get caught. So is he the one that was moving the goods? We know too that Savannah was also dealing drugs, not just Matthew. Matthew kind of, in the early days, I think a lot of people point the finger at Matthew like he was the bad guy and Savannah was the Virgin Mary. And that is not true. They were partners in this. They were doing it together, equally culpable. Neither one deserved to die. And certainly Fabian absolutely was entitled to live. Okay. So, but nevertheless, they're being very foolish, flaunting the big stack of money and the guns. It's foolish. It's advertising to the cops. Hey, come get me. It's foolish. So where were they getting the drugs from? Where were they getting them from? Question. Where were they getting them from? So now I don't know. Now I think, well, maybe Ramon knows more. And we may see charges change. It may turn into a conspiracy to commit murder charge. And in Texas, that is a murder charge. I mean, he would be treated exactly the same as Christopher. I've already done a video and said, I don't believe Christopher's tale of his 007 wrestled the gun and shot Savannah and then turned and wrestled the gun and shot, Matthew under the arm. That it didn't happen that way. They were both shot right under the ear, execution style, like there had to have been two guns there, right? So something. Or here's another possibility. Maybe Christopher's sitting in the back seat. They trust him. Maybe they're going there to deliver, drop off money or pick up more drugs to sell, right? Christopher's sitting in the back seat because he's trusted. They say, hey, we lost some of the money or we lost some of the drugs or we don't have enough cash to pay you because of the baby or whatever. And Christopher already was given information. If they come up short again, I'm done. Kill them. I want them done. and maybe he reached up, killed Savannah, and Matthew turned to leave, to get out of the car and run, and he shot him as he was running, and that's why he looks like he was dragged back in, that there was drag marks. So that's a possibility too. I think whichever way you look at it, probably, Savannah was probably the first one to die because her body was just like she was just sitting in the seat. There was no indication that she was in movement at all. So, maybe it happened that way, but no, I'm at the point now. It's hard for me to believe at this point, given how often you have a crime where the time frame is so exact. It's so exact, right? They know what time they pulled up in front of the house. They know what time they got there in the parking lot. They know. It's crazy. So that's a big old man to jump up out of bed running and manage to get dressed and get in the car and get to the apartment parking lot in 4 or 5 minutes. I just can't believe that. It's just not right. I don't believe it. So I don't know. And maybe it's an innocent explanation. Maybe he and the girlfriend had gone to get a gallon of milk in the middle of the night. Maybe they were already in the car. We don't know. But I do find the coincidental gang pad drug bust that happened a couple of days later, that is very interesting because it was a big bust. It was a lot of people that got caught. So like someone was arrested and started talking to save their skin, so all right. Hey, Stacy, for her to have gotten shot on the right side, I can't see without my glasses. I'm an old lady. For her to have gotten shot on the right side, it had to be from behind her, or he had to be outside of the passenger window. Christine says, I don't believe anything they say. Everybody was kung fu fighting. DB, I thought about that. That song came to my mind when I was reading the arrest affidavit that talked about, wrestled the gun and shot her, and then wrestled the gun and shot him. I mean, that's special forces kind of crap. It's not Christopher, it just didn't happen that way. But I would agree. Either the person was in the back seat or standing outside the passenger window. And then if that's the case, then how did the person make the shot to, if Christopher's standing outside the passenger window and Matthew jumps out to run, is his shot going to be such a clear shot? Again, you're asking for a level of precision that I don't think Christopher had. And that's pretty tough shooting. Moving target and you've got a barrier in between you. Not believable, I don't think. I think Christopher was sitting in the back seat of the car. And if he was, they will find his DNA. There'll be hair or there'll be something back there that, will show that he was in the back seat when it happened. So, yeah, the big question is Ramon, should Ramon be charged higher than what he is? And I don't want to upset anyone, please, but think about this. Why did Savannah's father tell an unbelievable tale? What was the purpose of what he said? Because it's not true. Well, okay, here's a scenario. Let me be careful when I say that, because is it possible that someone had access to Matthew and Savannah's apartment? They knew that the kids were killed, and maybe they went in and lit the candle and said a prayer and then left the apartment. And then the next day, the dad says, I need to go in there, and he kicks the door in. Yes. Yeah, sure. With this group of kids, I would believe it. Yeah. So not calling him a liar, not saying he's up to no good. I think, none of that. I'm just saying the candle's a problem, right? It's a real problem. And if the father is telling the truth about breaking the door down and everything looked normal and the candle was burning, then now the cops have another problem. Who lit the damn candle? Because if somebody lit the candle, they went into the apartment. What were they looking for when they went into the apartment? So this is not a simple case. Is not a simple case. I believe that in my heart. There's much more to this case than meets the eye. Door was never unlocked. Her mother and brother entered through a window. Savannah's mother said they were last spoken to at 11 a.m. in the morning. Where were they during the day? I thought the dad busted the door open. Elizabeth said, you pay rent, you deserve to not live next to 5 dealers. Agreed. It is so sad. In reality, these are all just children who are caught up in a dangerous lifestyle. Yeah, it's the allure of easy money. It's the messaging through our cultural the cultural entertainment, the movies and the video games, and they romanticize the whole gangster lifestyle. I heard somebody say they grew up in a mafiosa, like a mafia type family. And I thought, Scarface was not a hero. Scarface, Pacino played a psychopathic like a bloodthirsty, only cared about money, drug addicted, deranged nut job. And our nation has turned it into like this mark of success. And we've got a bunch of kids now that are trying to live that lifestyle. It's terrible. Honey K, you're exactly right. Apartment managers could do a better job of keeping residents like this out of their complexes. They do not at all hide what they are doing. Elizabeth, Elizabeth, question. When's the last time that you got a stack of bills and waved them around and took pictures online or held your gun for photos? Normal people don't do that. That is advertising. That is advertising saying, hey, you want some stuff? I'm the pharmacist. Come see me. You're exactly right. And the apartment complexes could do better, putting a lid on it. Kansas City has a major problem like this. Ramon says he doesn't know anything. Which side of the car does a baby car seat normally sit on? Adjusted fate, I would say on the passenger back seat. So the mom can see, like when you just turn around and look. Now, the car seats, especially for little, like infants, are usually in the middle of the seat. They're not on the left or right. They're usually in the middle. Once they get a little bit older, then they have to be in the regular car seat. They lived 2 blocks from those apartments. It took 1 minute or less to drive there. A coward shoots 2 people in a car where victims have no escape. He was waiting for the call. Yeah, it's a terrible. I'll tell you who did not die quickly. Baby Fabian did not die quickly. That is the truth. So San Antonio police, do the right thing for the baby. Do the right thing for the innocent human being who had his life snuffed out, not a hope in hell, when Ramon or Ramon's girlfriend or Christopher, any of them could have had an ambulance there and that baby alive within minutes. Within minutes, Fabian could have lived. So as you work this case and consider this prosecution, I would make this prosecution all about Fabian. That's where, because it is going to be so easy for people to call into question Savannah and Matthew, their lifestyle, the choices they were making, all of that. You can't do that when you're talking about a baby that's 10 days overdue that could have been saved. No doubt that child would be alive today if Ramon or his girlfriend had done the right thing and called 911. We have a pregnant lady here. She's just been shot and she is dead, but she is ready to have this baby. Hurry, we can save the baby. No question that baby could have been saved. No question. I'm telling you, no question. Unless she had been shot in the abdomen or, something like that, absolutely could have been saved. So remember, cops, don't get a gentle conscience on this one, because it's pretty horrifying when you think about it from Fabian's experience. All right. So do you think the third person who threw the towel reported the crime and turned state's evidence? Christine, I'm there. You know what I mean? That makes sense to me. I think so. And then I'm led to the question, maybe she is the one that went into the apartment, lit the candle. Maybe she was plagued with guilt. Maybe she had a really, really bad week. And she just couldn't live with what she was living with. Maybe she went in and prayed and lit the candle, and then ultimately realized I have to do the right thing. Maybe that is possible. That is possible. But we can't hesitate, And when this case started, I thought about how horrible. I felt compassion for Ramon, because I thought how horrible your kid does something stupid and evil like this, and then you're just dad, you're just trying to do the right thing, and you think, oh, I got to keep my child out of prison. Then on hindsight, you start thinking really, and you think, actually, no. The right thing would have been call 911, save this baby. My son made a decision to do this. He's a grown man. He's got to live with it, what he did. So there were other choices to be made for sure. And I'm going to tell you what, if this did play out the way we're thinking, maybe it did, I would not want to be the cops, and I would not want to be the prosecutors trying to charge that person who said, I know where they are. It was horrible. I don't know why I didn't. It would be horrible. It would be horrible to have to charge them. But we have to send a message. If you see a pregnant woman and she's died for some reason, please don't forget there's still a living baby in her stomach that may be saved. If the pregnancy is the last trimester, especially 8-9 months, a baby can live long enough for an ambulance to arrive and get her. So, all right. So I am done. You guys are awesome. Please, I'm going to give you the link one more time. Paste. This is T-Rev's channel. He had such a great call-in show last night. My goodness, it was like 7 hours. It was crazy. But it was a really, really good conversation. Lots of people had really interesting experiences and points of view. A lot of them quite contradicting to the current kind of thought. So just good listening, to hear other people's perspectives and whatnot. So for me, 3 issues. Number one, we know that they were at the house for 4 minutes. And we know where they were, at what time they arrived in the parking lot. And that is a very, very, very small window of time for Ramon to jump out of bed and get dressed and run to his truck and then drive a couple of miles to the apartment complex. Maybe he was already out and about. Maybe they were gone. Maybe they were out getting ice cream, something. So we don't know that he was in bed. It's number one. So that would need clarification. The thing that does not need clarification is there's a candle burning as Savannah's father breaks into the apartment. He says that everything looks perfectly normal. Nothing is amiss. The bag is packed and there is a candle burning. And that was on the 26th. And we know now that on the 21st, they were killed. So I don't know why the discrepancy, but the story that Savannah's father told, it can't be real. Well, maybe that was his experience, but then you're left with the question, who broke into the apartment and left the candle burning? So there's still a mystery there that has to be answered that we don't have any information about yet. And then the third point is that we have to remember with pregnant women, if they're third trimester, 8 month, 8, 9, regardless what's happened, you've got to get an ambulance there because the baby can be saved. All right. Okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and I'll be back.